We're about to jump into one of the most incredible stories of cultural survival you'll ever hear. It's all about a language that was basically forced into hiding for 200 years and how, against all odds, it came back.
So let me ask you this. How does a culture survive when its voice is just silenced? What happens when its language is shattered, completely wiped from public life? Well, the answer is an absolutely amazing story of resilience.
Okay, so our story kicks off way back in the 7th century, right after the Arab conquest of Persia. What came next was this period that historians now call the 2 centuries of silence. And they mean that literally. For 200 years, think about that, 200 years, the Persian language just vanishes from every public record. Gone. So you gotta wonder, right? How did society even function? Well, it adapted. It basically split itself into two. Let's start with the outer world. This was the world of, let's call it necessary compromise. And the reality of that split, wow, it was stark. Out in the public sphere, what they called the Biruni, the Persian language was just erased. If you were a man and you wanted to survive, if you wanted to do business or get a job in the administration, you had one choice. You had to speak Arabic, period. And Arabic didn't just show up. It took over everything official. We're talking the Quran, of course, but also all of government, cutting-edge science, all the legal rulings, even the high-minded poetry of the day. Seriously, if you were an outsider looking in, you'd think the Persian mind, the entire culture, had been completely overwritten, wiped clean. But here's the twist. While the language went silent in the streets and in the courts, it wasn't dead. Not by a long shot. It had just retreated. It was flowing, like a hidden stream, into a kind of secret sanctuary. That sanctuary was the home. The language moved behind those gates into the private, protected space they called the Andruni. So, while the men were out in the world of commerce speaking Arabic, back home, Persian became the operating system of the entire household. The strategy, whether they called it this or not, was brilliant. They turned the home into what you could call a linguistic ark. It became this vessel, and it was maintained almost entirely by mothers. Their job? To protect the culture's most precious cargo, its mother tongue, and carry it safely through the storm of conquest. So how exactly did they pull this off? Well, it's been called the nursery protocol. And look, this wasn't some formal, written-down strategy. It was something much more powerful, more organic. First step, lullabies and stories. They literally wove the language into the fabric of a child's first memories. Then you have the kitchen and the hearth, naming the world through everyday things, through recipes and routines. But the most important part, the real secret sauce, was tying the Persian language to the deepest human emotions, to love, to comfort, to that unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. And this gets us to the absolute heart of the matter. Think about it. You can totally conduct business in a second language. You can write a scientific paper in one. But you almost never weep in one. The mother tongue, Persian, was saved for one simple reason. It was the language of emotion. It was the carrier wave for the very soul of the culture. So you have this secret act of preservation going on for 200 years. And the result? Well, it was absolutely staggering. It was nothing short of a language being reborn. A resurrection, really. Because after those 2 long centuries, things started to change. The political climate shifted. The caliphate's grip on power started to loosen up, and that created an opening for local dynasties to start rising again. And the moment that opportunity appeared, that hidden stream of the Persian language didn't just trickle back, it exploded back into the public square. But here's the truly miraculous part. It wasn't some broken, watered-down dialect. It came back fully formed, incredibly rich, and ready for poetry, for high art. And why? It's so simple, it's beautiful. The poets of this new era didn't have to invent anything. They just wrote down the words their mothers had been singing to them their entire lives. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's incredibly profound, really. A language that's protected by love is way, way harder to kill than a language protected by law. The soft power of the home turned out to be so much more durable than the hard power of the state. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. I mean, this story happened over 1,000 years ago, but the principle is absolutely timeless. It makes you wonder, right? What are the hidden streams in our own world today? In our homes, in our communities, in art? What things are quietly preserving culture right under our noses?